Welcome to Casual Babble.
Hey, it's your boy, BC Babble.
This conversation could get a little
Now,
weird.
I'm not trying to say that I'm a nerd, but we are definitely about to get our nerd on, so...
This is Casual Babble.
Beautiful individual, welcome back to Casual Babble. Today we're jumping into the realm of PR and marketing. With me today in the studio is the creative mind behind Aimee Abel Creative. It is Aimee Abel herself.
That's me.
Welcome to the studio.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Busy Wednesday for the two of us so far. Much activity for you today with clients and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Always busy.
Always busy. So you really don't have like a... Is there any kind of regularity to your day today, or is that and if there is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, typically, I'm in a transitional period right now.
Mm-hmm.
As I briefly mentioned before we got on air, I just accepted a new position at an agency.
Mm-hmm.
An agency much larger than my own project. So my day-to-day has changed a bit. There's not really one universal day to day. Like I would say my schedule is similar on a monthly basis because we have content calendars coming out at the end of the month to prepare for the following one.
Okay.
And we have, a certain number of emails we get out for our clients, and all the marketing things happen sort of on a monthly basis. But day to day, it changes, and I love that.
So you say we, how many people exactly are involved with Aimee Abel Creative?
Well, we was more so referring to my new position, but Aimee Abel Creative, it's mainly me. My clients sometimes collaborate with me on our content calendars. Just we have a client meeting so they can inform me of upcoming things. And then I've worked with photographers and copywriters in the past, and I have an analytics person. So I don't have any full-time employees for my own LLC, but I have worked with 4 people.
But to be able to say that you have employees, like if you can like back to a time where you didn't have your own label, and now being able to say that you've had your own employees, what's that like? Like this person works for me.
It is a whole different vibe. I mean, managing people, it just comes with a new set of challenges. I enjoy it because I'm just a communicator at heart, and communication has always just come kind of naturally to me. At first, definitely, it was like a point of like excitement, sort of, I guess, like mostly because other people were like, wow, you're literally a boss. Like, that's awesome. But for me, it was never like a point of pride. It was just like, yeah, I have more work than I can do alone. I think it's finally time for me to like get some help, get some expertise. But I will say it's difficult in a creative field sometimes. And some of the people I took on early on were people I'd known for years. One person was like a childhood friend.
Okay.
And our friendship is very important to me. I totally like appreciate the caliber of work she was doing, but she wasn't quite like gelling exactly with the type of work that we were doing. Like it takes a really specific personality type to be able to put out social media content for certain clients. It's a really personality-based business, and like it's not for everyone. And so sometimes just me having to navigate like, this is a really good friend, we're preserving that over like working together. Like if this doesn't work as a working relationship, then we let that go. We're not letting the friendship go. But me being a manager and having to figure, like my learning curve was, how do I really articulate the kind of changes that I need made or nudge along timelines and follow-ups in a way that is super respectful and still forceful, because I think I'm really good at that, but it was just the learning curve of doing that with a friend the first time was an adjustment process. But now I actually do have 2 direct reports with my new job. Like I am a manager. I have 2 employees, and I love it. I love managing people. I like to be a leader. I don't mind the client interface, so being a buffer between the clients and my direct reports, giving them the creative guidance and giving them the feedback. I'm excited to like nurture them and see them grow.
So thankfully, it wasn't one of those kind of situations where people say friends should work for friends because it creates bad blood. It was more that there was a particular style that you needed to have executed, and this individual just wasn't quite in the ballpark. Would you say?
Yeah, exactly. And I could see there being a situation with bad blood because I've worked for people before who just did not have good people skills. I worked for one person in particular who would just turn and burn every employee she had, like treat them disrespectfully. They would want to leave or she would fire them. So it really, I think it takes a special, like, you have to play well with others, and not everyone can do that. I think we've all had a bad manager before.
Now, to avoid trying to usher in the dropping of any names, was this someone that I know or somebody else?
No, you don't know them.
Okay, so I'll take it as a blessing.
I will drop this Easter egg. Anyone who works in social media marketing in Charlotte knows who this person is and has probably worked for her, and probably has an anxiety disorder because of it, or had one at some point. But if anything, I learned what not to do in every scenario, because I'm telling you, people get like PTSD after working for her. And then afterwards, they all kind of like reach out to everyone else they were coworkers with and like decompress, because it was a really stressful experience.
So not the kind of professional renown you want to have develop about you when you're working in a major market kind of thing.
No, not at all.
So I didn't get to work for that person, but you and I have worked for a collective boss before. We will not drop her name. But speaking of like trauma, so you recall the morning so there was a particular morning where I was apparently supposed to come in and work for somebody, but that schedule that was made that said that wasn't shared with the team. So I was woken up at, I don't know, I don't think it was any further past like 5:15 in the morning, and I was destroyed by this person. And if you recall, I texted you that morning. I was like, Aimee, go into your emails and please pull up the latest schedule we have from this person, and please tell me what it says I'm supposed to be doing this Monday morning. And you were like, yeah, you're not in until the afternoon. I'm like, that's what I thought. But the way she executed her rooster call with me, we'll call it, literally to this day, and this was what? I haven't worked for that company for like 19. This was definitely while I was part-time, so like maybe 18 or 17. It's 2022 now.
Probably 17.
So 5 years later, what that morning did to me, actually every night, I cannot trust that I've set the right alarm.
I'm so sorry.
Every night, because I have two. So I've got my like Alexa clock, and I have my phone. So one goes off, the Alexa goes off at like 5:50.
And you have trust issues.
My phone goes off 5 minutes later.
Even though that situation was not even a fault of your own.
It was not a fault of my own.
It was our boss's fault.
I will look at my phone, see, okay, 5:55. Turn it off, turn over, think, wait.
My God.
Did I see it? Turn back over, pull up my phone, and I'll do it like 5+ times in a row.
Were you filling in for the position that was to my left?
I was filling in for... No, I was filling in for someone who was in the front row.
Oh, producing.
And I think it was either the Raleigh person or the Charlotte person.
Oh, okay.
One of those two.
Gotcha. That is so, okay. That's like less of a big deal than if it was someone on air, first of all, because like
True.
You can cover that.
Uh-huh.
But I bet if it was Charlotte, then the Raleigh person was raising a stink. If it was Raleigh, then the Charlotte person was raising a stink.
You really didn't either one of those two, to be honest. But to this day, I
grumpy
still have
old
trust
men.
issues.
We worked with a lot of grumpy old men.
I hate that. But
let me just. You're not going to get an apology from our boss. Let me extend an apology.
True.
That was not right.
True.
That was not fair. I was actually thinking about her on the way in here because I was thinking about my journey to like working for myself and how having bosses just wasn't really up my alley. And I had some difficulties with different management styles. But I do remember having amazing coworkers who would like have my back. Mm-hmm. Like, here's a story that reflects poorly on me. My birthday, how old was I turning? Probably like 25.
Okay.
Maybe, probably 25. I went out. My friends took me out. We were out all night. Mm-hmm. It was a weeknight. It was so unnecessary, the level of celebrating that we did. And I lost my phone in an Uber that night, which is my alarm clock. So I, fully imbibe, really seized the day on all the partying we did. The next day, I wake up at like 9:30 a.m. Mm-hmm. My shift's obviously supposed to start at like 5:30 in the morning. 4 hours
earlier, you're right.
So I completely missed the morning drive.
Oh, no, but you didn't get a phone call.
Didn't get a phone call because my phone is in an
there.
Uber on God's green earth somewhere.
Oh, my God. I was saying, wait, you didn't get a phone? Oh, you don't know where your phone is.
No, not a fucking clue.
So you can't receive that phone call. Dang.
So thank God for mainly Scott, I think, covered for me, but they all divided it up.
He
Scott,
was a gem,
Tony, Rich. These guys had my back. God bless them and keep them.
For 4 hours.
I think
too.
they served as a buffer between me and Linda too, because Linda doesn't come in the morning shift, and so they could have easily called her and been like, "We don't know where Aimee is."
Right.
And Colin covered for me too. He's great, but like, they knew it was my birthday and they knew I was a messy bitch. So they were just like, she needs help. Let's just cover this one. And they covered for me so many times. Like, I deserved to lose that job so much sooner, except that when I was there, I could do a decent job on air. Like, I sounded good. That kept me in there. And
Girl, you always sound good though. I don't think you put effort into that voice. It rolls off the tongue.
I appreciate that. Wow, high praise.
Stop playing like you don't know. Stop it.
Well, but you're right. I don't really put effort into it. It's just a natural thing. But also, like, I feel like they had trouble keeping people.
Yeah.
And there weren't that many women. Like, we had Susan and Samantha who were great, but like.
What was the girl who sat last row on the end, but she was never Aimee? Wasn't she another Aimee?
Last row on the which end?
So back row of anchors, but her seat was technically on the left, past Rich.
She was an anchor?
I think so. She had like the whole microphone set up and whatnot, but she had the little candy bird sitting there. She liked Batman. She was huge into Batman.
Aimee, yeah.
Other
Aimee.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was a producer, yeah.
Oh, she was a producer. Okay.
Yes. And she worked from home most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing her like anything past my first full year.
I know.
If we got
years
that far,
would go by and
right.
I wouldn't see her or Samantha. Jay was also a steady anchor. He wasn't literally an anchor. He was a producer, but he was like a cornerstone of that back.
That's right,
well.
Jay. Yeah.
And then he relocated to Colorado.
But he was still working part-time.
Yeah, which is crazy to me.
Different time zone, but still part-time.
The money wasn't that good. He was working crazy hours and he like didn't even have social media. Like he's hilarious. Like I would want to like crack jokes with him, and we would sometimes exchange like funny, snarky emails. But like he was.
I think I remember a couple of times
absent.
coming into the office and you two were already cackling about something.
Yeah, he was hilarious.
You were already
he
laughing.
always kept me laughing. He was awesome.
So let's delve in.
He still is probably. I just haven't talked to him.
Let's trace over your journey a bit more. So you and I went to App State. I think we may have kind of conversed a couple times because you graduated a year before I did. I think only as a result of me being the gear guy upstairs, maybe we conversed for that reason. So talk about coming out of college, getting that first position as an anchor, and then did you already have your desire then to kind of move into being your own boss, or how did that start?
Well, so I started as a part-time producer first because I interned with iHeartMedia between my junior and senior years, I think, of college. So applied for a job with Linda, got hired as a part-time producer. It was just like easy fun. I mean, nice to have the name iHeartMedia on your resume because it's super recognizable. But of course I was working like 6 p.m. to midnight, which was fine with me.
I actually kind of honestly miss that schedule sometimes.
Yeah,
weirdly enough.
It's fun because like depending on who you're working with, like I got to work with Anthony a bunch, who was awesome.
Anthony was great.
Brianna, like several people who I would produce with. We were just like bros. We would like watch TV, get takeout. We were chilling. We would take naps. We would be doing yoga. And working, obviously, very diligently, pouring our heart and soul into the producing, of course. But then I got my kind of foot in the door with doing some of the, once I started moving into like the 9 a.m. to 11 or like weird 1 to 4 shifts during the
actual daytime
producing.
stuff,
Yeah, that's when I was able to pick up a couple like voice spots with Benny, and I did a lot of that over the years, which was like super exciting to me. And I ended up doing some voice work freelance for a while, just one-offs here and there, which I loved. And then Linda suggested I train a little bit on doing some traffic reports, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be on air. I was on air at App State, and I loved it. I don't hate the sound of my own voice. I was ready to get on air.
Yeah.
That's like one of the only ways, even though I was like, I don't want to do a split shift. That sounds terrible, which it was.
Yeah.
I was like, I want Samantha's job because she works like 12 to 6 or whatever her shift was.
It was
perfect.
11:30 to like 5:15 because she and Scott would essentially trade off.
Right.
Perfect. I
Perfect
wanted either
timing.
their schedule or what was the other dude's schedule? The other dude that sat in Sam's chair in the morning. What was his name?
Oh,
with the glasses? Kevin. So either one of their schedules I wanted.
His wasn't split too. I mean, I feel like there was a way that more people could have done that, but
Yeah.
So eventually I was just like the fill-in person for a while, which was awesome because I just made it my priority to be available. She would put me wherever someone would call out. And then at one point someone left. Her name was Kimmy and she was the Norfolk producer or anchor.
Okay.
And so I was like a 2-week fill-in or I would be like a 3-week fill-in. At one point, I think I was Samantha's fill-in for a little while because she broke like both her ankles or something crazy and had to have a really intense recovery.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I'm here at your disposal. Put me in, coach. And then I got a phone call when I was on vacation, actually in Portland, that Linda was able to officially offer me a full-time job. And I was thrilled. She was like, it doesn't pay a ton. Like, this is the rate. But I didn't care because it was like my first full-time job. It was in radio.
Some benefits too.
No, well, I was under 26, so I actually was still on my parents' benefits.
Okay, there you go.
But yeah, that opportunity was there. It was just huge for me. At this point, I was loving my coworkers, like the team, the good ones.
Yeah.
And I was just excited. And I did know that I like still love doing social media. But at that point, my vision was like, okay, cool. I'm on the radio. Let's see where this goes. Maybe I could transition into being like more personality or like afternoon drive.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what kind of led me into embracing that position and really going with it. I think I was full-time for like 2 years.
Yeah.
Because I was there for like 3 total.
Yeah. Same.
So it took about a year, I guess, to get a full-time job. But when I was part-time with them, I was still working a part-time job, like Whole Foods. I was like bagging groceries, working cashier. It's not very much money, but I was living at my parents' house at the time, and so expenses were low. And after college, you kind of have to work for very little, which is like unfair, but especially in radio.
And hopefully you build up your reputation enough to where something comes along and you can snag it, or the right person.
Yeah, it's all about knowing somebody. Like being a young person in any industry, it's really important to network. Learn people's names, introduce yourself, ask to shadow them, even if they're not in your department. People are the kindest with young people just starting out in any industry. That's, across the board, I believe. And a lot of people want that opportunity to lead. If someone came to me right now and they're like, I just really want to learn about social media, like, would it be okay if I like tag along to a meeting or shadow you? I would probably be flattered that they looked up to what I'm doing. And I would be like, yeah, absolutely. A lot of people want that mentor opportunity to be able to like nurture someone along.
Yeah. But you mentioned earlier, so you're now in kind of a transitional period, though, because you have this brand new awesome job on the West Coast. And to confirm, it's going to be remote for a little while, but they're going to help you relocate in March?
Yes,
in
correct.
March. So does that kind of throw what your schedule was before this offer now into kind of a craze or like kind of a little chaotic, or how is it being handled?
Well, I've been like manifesting this for a while. So I stopped pursuing new business a couple months ago because I knew I wanted to move.
Right.
I knew I wanted to get more business on the West Coast or figure out something over there. So I stopped pursuing new business, and a couple of my clients went through some transitions. One of them sold her business.
Okay.
So we terminated our contract because the new owner was not wanting to budget for marketing. And then another client really just weathered a ton through COVID, and they were like, we need to kind of change our game plan, figure out our new model. So we're going to have to put a pause on our marketing. And that came about right in the middle of December. And so it was honestly perfect timing. I still have a couple clients, and one of them I'm very active with. I also manage their website, their PR, their events, and I haven't quite figured out the transition plan on that yet, but I hope to be able to bring them on because I can bring on new clients to my new agency. I'd love to bring them on, but I just haven't floated the idea with them yet because I know that And actually my new company does have small operations in Charlotte. So there's a person here
cool.
who could potentially help with that transition as well.
Nice.
Yeah, so that would be best case scenario. I have a really good relationship with this client. I would love to continue working with them. I've been with them since before they opened. So it feels like they're my baby because they were like one of my first clients when I worked this thing full time. But you know, if not, I mentally just recently came to the realization like nothing really lasts forever, Amy. Like if the client goes in a different direction, it'll be fine because I want to be present in San Diego, which is where I'll be. And then another client of mine is actually based in New York. So I can continue running that one. Yeah. It's a fairly simple type of account. And then I have some work that I do with an agency in Bloomington, just because I have a mentor who owns an agency there and she's fabulous. Okay. But I think I'll probably scale back on stuff with them and just keep her sort of keep in contact with her. She's a great, she's become a friend of mine and a mentor. So yeah, the working hours right now, that transition's a little weird because I am now getting up at like 8 or 9. Like I have this to-do list, and my team is not awake for 3 or 4 more hours after that. So I'm like, I like it because it gives me a chance to like get ahead of the day because I have a million emails coming to me. But then at the end of the day, when I'm like ready to wrap up around 6, it's only 3 o'clock their time. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to tag out now, but if you need anything, let me know. Sure. That will change once I'm out there though. We'll all be like on the same time, schedule roughly.
Now with the clients that you think you'll be able to keep working with, will they still be clients of Aimee Creative or will they be clients of your new agency, but you'll be the one handling their work?
Well, that really depends. The larger account, in theory, like again, this is all speculation. They would be a client of my new agency, but I would be the account manager likely. But we would just have more resources. We would outsource photo shoots more, and I would have more of a team behind me to build out their content calendar and do all that. And then for another one, I don't know. It depends on if they're interested in moving forward. It might just be a side project because it's such a small account.
And so what is specifically, I don't think we got the full title. What is your specific new title, like a PR agent or what do you call on paper for this agency?
Account manager.
Account manager. Okay. So, and do they already have a kind of a roster of ones of potential prospective clients. Thank you. Prospective clients for you.
I've got a full client load. So this isn't a new position that was created. I am stepping in as someone else is leaving. Right. So I have one of my clients is actually a chain of sandwich shops. Ooh. And there's like 11 shops. Another hospitality group is a couple chain restaurants and then 2 taco shops. And then another account is a hospitality group. So they have like 4 hotels and 2 bars. And then another one is a chain of 4 coffee shops and a coffee bean roastery. And then another bar restaurant that's really popular. So it's all hospitality, but it's like a lot of individual accounts.
So the clients that have multiple locations, are they all kind of localized or are they kind of cross country?
They're mostly in Southern California.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So, and with that, depending on how much they're spread out, does that require you to alter demographic targeting at all based on what city they're in or if they're in a major market, or is it all kind of across the board for the one client, kind of the same technique?
That's a good question. So since they're all in Southern California, the culture of the brand is very consistent. We don't change it. And I think the same would be for a lot of the chains. You want your brand culture to be really recognizable, really consistent. So it may not vary at all based on region. The way we do it with this client is social media account wise, we do have a regional account for several areas. Like for Orange County, there's one account. For San Diego County, there's one account. But then there might be 5 restaurants in San Diego County, but they're all represented with this one account.
I never realized San Diego was a county and a city.
Yeah.
I learn something new every day. I did not know that.
It's news to me too.
So you've gone from being an employee to being the boss and now being, for the most part, an employee again.
Kind of both. I'm a manager.
Yeah. And so with having that time that you had being the boss, what has that given you into your new venture? And then also what has that taught you to not budge on in regards to how, as a employee, you hope to be kind of treated and seen?
Wait. Let's start with the first part of the question. We're going like
I didn't realize
really
that was
deep.
so big.
Wait, well, what did you ask?
So okay, so you've been employee boss, now employee boss thing with your new position. So having that experience as a boss, what
have I brought with me?
Yeah, what are you bringing into this new position? Yeah.
Well, I think being independent was the best experience I could have had. Because I really had to do every job. Like being my own startup, I had to do every role, including the client interface, including the actual execution of all these projects, the granular nitty gritty, like the copywriting. I even was taking photographs and even trying to code things on websites. I did it all. And once I realized, like, you cannot be a master. All of these things, the caliber of what I want to deliver for my clients and under my name exceeds what I'm capable of achieving all on my own. That's a fact. I mean, I'm not Superwoman. It's a privilege to be able to outsource. That's why I loved hiring people for projects, because I love being able to pass this off to someone. And it feels like you're cheating. It feels like you're plagiarizing. Like, write this copy for me and then we're good. But that's just doing good business. Like, you can't do it all yourself. But the experience of having to cover all of these responsibilities really is what is enabling me to be able to manage and be the big idea person and kind of like nurture and give feedback on this more granular stuff that someone else executes.
Okay.
And being an employee, learning how my managers communicated with me, what worked, what didn't work. I feel confident in my footing with being like the interpersonal.
Yeah, and you know what you're not looking for.
Yeah, that is very easy to identify.
And so going into this networking with this agency, and I'm sure other ones that you were in discussions with, as you were taking this transition on, in your mind, were there certain things that you told yourself, okay, no matter who I'm going to talk to for a new position, these are the things I want. I know that I want out of it. So what were those things for you?
Okay, so one really, really big one for me was some kind of perception or value of work-life balance. Because with my agency, I kept it small enough that I could still take a day off if I needed to. I could manage every email in my inbox if I needed to. I liked being at a manageable size. And I had some wrenches come into my life. The last year, I broke a leg at one point, and so I had to be able to take time off, you know?
Yeah, I do recall those Instagram stories very much, yes.
I documented it for
You
sure.
did very well.
And so this is actually the only agency I spoke with. The other companies I was speaking with were bigger tech companies, like really like mid-level to very large tech companies. And even had like a headhunter approach me and like harass me about a job with Apple. Like she called my phone over and over again to the point where I was like, I had to block the number because it kept going off in a meeting I was in. And so like ordinarily, you know, like Apple, great, obviously huge company, big name recognition.
Right.
That's something I would consider. But the approaches from all these other companies to work-life balance was really not what I was looking for.
Oh, okay.
And even though the money was bigger, the pay was like way better.
Yeah.
I mean, not way better, but definitely like a chunk more.
Yeah.
I knew I would rather sacrifice money and feel like, especially moving to a new city and having to change so much of my life, going with this agency felt like a really, really nice fit for me lifestyle-wise, because the work was really similar to what I was doing over here, just larger scale, bigger team.
Yeah.
And the money was it was still attractive. Like the offer they gave me was enough for me to accept with enthusiasm. And I even had like a little bit of negotiation periods there. But there's like only so much. I don't think there's any dollar amount in the world that's going to make me want to work like more than 45 hours a week, honestly.
Yeah.
Unless there's like there were weeks when I was working by myself that I definitely like nose to the grindstone worked a million hours, it felt like. But no, there's no, even if someone was like, here is $2 million a year, but you have to work 80 hours a week, I wouldn't do it. I can't do it. That's like
hard.
not my priority in life.
80 hours a week.
No. And I know someone who just literally worked 79 hours last week. And I was like, my heart broke for them because I was like, that would never be me. I would rather be like.
And is that one job for them, or are they working multiple?
That's one job.
Oh, my
salaried. Because it's like once you're on salary.
Oh, good.
Just
That's crazy.
But this agency, the general attitude of the manager and the owner that I spoke with, we're very like, we want you to have like a balance. And in social media, it can be difficult because social media never turns off.
Right.
So some agencies, some tech companies will even say like, well, yeah, you're on call all the time because like, what if a message comes in?
Yeah.
But my attitude and this agency's attitude, which is why I felt like it was a good fit, is like, we're on the clock during these hours. And there's not really such a thing as like an emergency in social media.
Right.
Unless like maybe there's a fire, but like social media should not be the first point of contact for anyone.
Yeah, exactly.
So
unless you see a story about your agency like shutting down and your boss didn't tell you, you should have some like downtime, essentially.
There's no scenario. Right. There's no scenario I can think of where like a social media manager of a restaurant needs to be woken up at 3 a.m. For something.
Like for what?
There's no scenario I
like
can think
exactly
of. Yeah.
Like how special do you think this sandwich is going to be?
And in social media and marketing, I think people kind of get in this space of being like, I don't know if addicted is the right word, but they're kind of addicted to like this adrenaline, and like social media is addictive by nature. So like checking my phone every 5 minutes and like responding to a message as soon as it comes in. Like some people just get attached to this anxiety headspace.
Right.
And that is not my style.
Like I love the hand movements while you say that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can do great work and I don't have to be like chained to my client's inbox. There's no need, and most of my clients understand that because I work with some really intelligent people. So yeah.
So like you know what you're doing, they know what they want. So once you get it set it into motion, you just let it flow.
And I do offer to be on call. And I do check periodically because my phone is in my hand so much. So I don't want to undersell, like it is a full-time, like around the clock kind of thing. But in beverage, food and hospitality, it's just part of the wonderful territory that like, if I was a news reporter, it would be different.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
Maybe if I was an Apple social media strategist, it would be different.
Yeah.
And that job does pay way more than the one that I've accepted. But
I bet.
I just didn't, it wasn't for me. And the style of the recruiter, I was like, this is not going to work. Like, I don't know.
That's good. Do you have any plans from here? Well, of course, we're going to let you kind of get into this new position, especially after your relocation and experience it in full. Do you have any future plans where maybe you plan to jump off and just be full Aimee, I'm the boss kind of venture? Any like developing platforms you're kind of conceptualizing in your head for future launching, anything like that?
I honestly would love to just continue growing with this agency. I see some real potential for growth and more leadership opportunities with them. The people who own it and run it and work for it are just they seem incredible. And so I'm excited to be like among people like them. And the only thing I could see myself pursuing further would be maybe spend some more time on my personal social media, maybe get more into that content game, but still, working and continuing. Not a lot of people stay in agency life. Like a good tenure at an agency is like 2 years maybe. So who knows? Maybe something else will come at that 2-year mark. But I see a lot of growth potential, and I actually like the idea of being in sales. So maybe even going to acquire more business for them. We'll see.
That'd be pretty awesome. If I got a chance to sit you down in front of a bunch of either PR majors or other kinds of marketing or advertising majors, and their questions tend to center around, what should my plan be if I want to be the boss one day? What points of advice would you give them?
Working for other people teaches you a lot. And then trying to make a go of it yourself also teaches you a lot. So I guess some people, I guess my piece of advice maybe would be, if you can't get the job you want, if you can't get the pay that you want or the position or the opportunity, don't shy away from just creating it for yourself, going out and getting it. That's what I did. I applied for jobs. I interviewed for jobs to be a social media strategist for these larger companies. And no one was, I wasn't getting those offers. So I started out freelance. I created my own agency, kind of felt like out of thin air because it was a need. I filled a need and word of mouth spread, and I was in my hometown, so resources and referrals came through. So use the network that you have. But I would encourage anyone who's curious or interested in going out on their own to do it. It was nothing but a positive experience for me. Even the tough days were my favorite days. They were better than any other day working for some of our past businesses.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me in the studio today. I really appreciate it. Follow Aimee on her platforms. Her links will be in the description below. And if I don't get to see you again before your big move, I hope that your transition is very smooth. So I hope it's everything you hope it is and more.
Thank
and I
you.
hope the way you grow over there is beyond what your expectations are.
That's very kind. Thank you
Yes.
so much. It's been fun talking with you.
Have a great night, and we'll see you on the next episode of Casual Babble.
Thank you.